Will you dare to love? Millennials and Gen Z, I want you to order my new book, Millennial and Gen Z Guide to Marriage, Love in the Age of Lies, Deception, and Mistrust by Najwa Ferreira, because this is our time. Available today on Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Najwa. If you're new to this channel, please do me a favor. Hit that like, subscribe button. Make the channel successful. Donate to the channel. That'd be great. Okay. I just want to talk about the narcissist and why narcissistic collapse is very, very rare. Narcissistic injury, I feel like, is something that's very prevalent. Okay, narcissists are very sensitive people. They get that gut hit very easily. They get offended very easily. We know this. We know narcissists to be easily offended, but anything can set them off because they have such a fragile sense of self. Like, they've got such a fragile ego, right? So that's really prevalent. That's not rare. What's rare is the big takedown, the narcissistic collapse. That's very, very rare. So for those of you who are new to this world, maybe let me just break it down real quick. What is a narcissist? What is narcissistic injury? What is narcissistic collapse? And why is narcissistic injury very prevalent in my view? Okay, I'm not a psychologist, not a guru, but I've sort of delved into the world of this. I've gotten to know more about it, and I am a survivor, so I feel like that's my experience that I bring here. But I am constantly researching. I'm constantly learning more because people need to know about this. We're living in a more narcissistic world, more narcissistic than ever. And in the end, narcissists can really, really hurt you, if not be the cause of your demise. So it's really, really important to know about this. And systems can be narcissistic. We're living in the result of lots of narcissistic systems, right? So what is a narcissist? Narcissist is a term that's used very, very widely today to just describe anything from someone who posts on themselves on social media too much, or talks about themselves too much, or has an overly inflated sense of self, an overly inflated ego, someone who talks about themselves all the time, someone who is very meticulous about the way they dress. This is sort of the popular culture almost definition, this blanketed term of what we've deemed as the narcissist. But narcissist comes from Narcissus, from, I think it's Greek mythology. Don't hold me on that. I don't think it's Roman. I think it's Greek. But Narcissus basically fell and saw his reflection in a lake, in a river or something like that. And he could not turn away. He was just enamored by his own reflection. And this was the cause of his demise. He basically just died there, right? Because he was just staring at his reflection, and he didn't move, right? Then you have narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. And narcissistic personality disorder is the actual clinical term pulled from the DSM-5. I think it's DSM-5. It's the actual clinical term for someone who suffers from narcissistic personality disorder, someone who actually is considered as someone who has a mental disorder. And this is something that is usually a result of trauma. It's usually a result of what they've been through in their life, the way that they have attachments throughout their life. They usually have formed insecure attachments throughout their life as a result of some sort of childhood trauma or some sort of trauma throughout their life, usually in early development, but that could also be in early adulthood, it could be in adulthood, it could be whenever, but usually it's early development. Now back to just like to make it more real, because when you talk about these scientific terms like narcissistic personality disorder, attachment styles, insecure attachment, behavioral disorder, it sort of separates us. But we know a narcissist when we see one, right? We know them. They are the person who, they wreak havoc on other people's lives because they don't have a sense of empathy. A lot of times people are suffering through narcissistic abuse, emotional abuse, in relationships, in romantic relationships, right? But narcissistic abuse can come in any way. Like, for instance, for me, it was a friend who was narcissistic. And for 10 years, it took a long time for me to understand what was going on here. But what that has done is, like, now that a narcissist comes into my life, the signs are so recognizable. They're almost physical. I know some of you guys out there probably feel this. You physically feel it when they're in your presence. And a lot of this has to do with how they're so easily offended. You know, it's like you existing, you being you is offensive to them. It is oppressive to them. And basically, any narcissistic victim, any person who is a victim of narcissistic abuse, they have to, and in the eyes of the narcissist, they have to adapt to the narcissist worldview. Otherwise, the narcissist just feels really, really uncomfortable. So, to get to the injury and the collapse. Now, to come to narcissistic injury and collapse. So think about it like this. Narcissistic injury is kind of like what you see when they get so easily offended. Narcissistic injury could come in many forms. I'll give you a few examples. It's basically when their ego has been bruised in some way. It's basically when their false sense of self has been chipped away in some way, and they feel exposed, they feel infuriated, they feel inferior, they feel like they have been infuriated, they feel like they have been exposed to be a fraud. It also could just be a blow to the ego. It could be someone showing that they're smarter, prettier, richer, more famous, whatever it could be. It could also be a victim walking away. You know, it could be a victim saying, sorry, something not right with you. I gotta go and, serve my best good elsewhere, and that could be a source of narcissistic injury. So it's basically, think about the word injury. That really encompasses it. It is a wound. Okay, so it says, right. So this is what Wikipedia says. Wikipedia says, in psychology, narcissistic injury, also known as narcissistic wound or wounded ego, is emotional trauma that overwhelms an individual's defense mechanisms and devastates their pride and self-worth. I feel like I pretty much chipped onto that, right? This is way more succinct than what I said. But, it's there. If you've been the victim of the horrible, treacherous emotional abuse that comes with being around a narcissist, you don't even need these terms. You don't need a dictionary definition. It's like it has become embedded in you, and It says, in some cases, the shame or disgrace is so significant that the individual can never again truly feel good about who they are. This is sometimes referred to as a narcissistic scar. Where it says, in some cases, the shame or disgrace is so significant that the individual may never truly feel good about themselves again, I think that that's pointing more towards the narcissistic collapse, okay? Which I'm going to explain why I think that's very rare. But the narcissistic injury, for me, this is the way that I feel. This is what I've observed in my life. Of the narcissists, 2 or 3 narcissists who were in my life for a long-term period, and the everyday narcissist that you meet, the narcissist from school, from work, from church, on the street, in traffic, at the grocery store, skipping the line, you see it, you observe it, and you see it. So to me, the injury is very fleeting, because they, like I said, they get offended at the drop of a hat because they have no sense of self. It's why they have the need to absorb their victims. They see that you're creative. They want to absorb you. They want to basically shake out all of your creativity like you would shake out the dust in why am I doing this with my hands? They would shake out the dust in some dirty clothes. But then they want to take on your persona of creativity and have you constantly say, oh my gosh, you're so creative. Oh my gosh, you're so creative. But all of a sudden, you aren't making music anymore, even though you used to make music all the time, They will basically get all up in arms when you call them out on something. For instance, if they have a misjudgment of your character and you say, oh, no, that's not me. Sorry. And they say, yes, this is you. You're a dirty, terrible, sinful, naughty, horrible, uneducated, ignorant person. And you say, no, I don't think so. this is like an injury for them that I feel like is long lasting. When they try to tell you that you are nothing, and then you say, no, you're wrong, this is one of the injuries that stays, you know. It's like all of a sudden they're going to have to start bringing people around that show off that they are a really, really understanding, caring, warm-hearted person, when you know in your heart this is a totally evil person, right? They're going to try to do things to make up for that injury that's been caused. Not by you, you know, you just like stood up for yourself. But for them, it was an injury because they're so used to some people. If you will look at the people in the narcissist life, in their lives, if you'll look at their circle of people, you'll notice similarities with them. You'll notice that all of them are really yes men and women. They sort of just reinforce what the narcissist needs because you've experienced it. You've experienced it, that all in all out showdown, you know, that total nuclear war that happens when you go up against the narcissist. And it's why you left, you know. But for the people who stay, because they get something from the narcissist, either they get validation in the community that they're in with the narcissist, or they get to keep their job, or they get to stay in this toxic relationship, if it's a romantic relationship, but they get lots of jewelry and perks, you know, like monetary or materialistic perks that come with that. Those people stay in the narcissist's life because they get something in return, or they just are really, really shells, emotional shells of a human being, and like they're dealing with some of their own trauma. You know, the narcissist represents mom or dad or grandma or granddad or somebody, you know, legal guardian, someone who did some sort of trauma to them or traumatized them in some way, not necessarily physically, but emotionally, of course, as well. But if you look at the circle of people around the narcissist, you will notice they're all yes men and women, and for lack of a better way to say this, they have something wrong with them. Like, and I don't mean like something crazy wrong in the head, but you can also say that too. But either they really neglect their health. Like either they are like diabetic, or they're like, you know, they have some sort of illness like obesity, or maybe they maybe they really neglect their physical appearance, their hair, their skin, their nails looking a little crusty. You know, it's like, because the narcissist is like a full-time job. Being that yes man and woman is a full-time job, but they will continue to do it, and it'll be at the detriment of themselves. And like, seriously, there's something wrong with the people that's in their circle, because that's what the wear and tear of long-term exposure around the narcissist is. And so when somebody comes in like you and you say, no, narcissist, you're wrong, and you're not like that troop of yes men and women, that's going to cause narcissistic injury. But since the narcissist is surrounded by those yes men and women, and they have other people who they can basically emotionally blackmail into making them look good if you do call them out. Let's say that you call them out and say, I don't know, that they're like, I don't know, let's say that they're classist, okay? Let's say you call the narcissist out and say that they're classist. They are basically going to bring in like a homeless, one-eyed, one-legged orphan to show you that they love the poor, right? You know, like I don't know a better way to describe it, but you get what I'm saying, right? It's like they have to keep up that show, and they've got all these yes men and women around them that they've been emotionally blackmailing that are going to stand up for them. But you're the one that got away, and so you really can't be emotionally blackmailed. You will just go no contact and move on with your life. But the narcissist, like, it injures them, and so they have to keep gathering supply. They have to keep gathering victims. Narcissistic supply are those victims, those yes men and women who give the narcissist compliments, who give them validation, who tell them they're right all the time. They got to keep racking them up. So they have a whole Rolodex of narcissistic supply, you know, and that basically is what helps them get over their narcissistic injury. I saw this meme once or something that said, like, if the narcissist didn't come back to hoover you up, you are the most
lucky person on the planet. Like, do not contact them again. And it's so true. I think of it as like this terrible, ugly, evil, big cyclops, this big eye that's just turning, looking for narcissistic supply. You see all the red veins and stuff in it, and it's hunting stuff down, hunting supply down. And if it somehow, with its blind spots and its trajectory misses you, it's like you've been saved from the monster. Like, think of this as like a blessing. This is a good thing. So guys, if the narcissist has discarded you, don't go back, move on with your life, and know that you have been spared a miserable existence and you're really lucky. So don't go back. The collapse. I feel like the biggest example of the narcissistic collapse that we could look at, I feel like it's so rare. It is so rare because the wheels of justice are slow to turn. Now, I know that we've got little baby narcissists in our communities, these smaller, less impactful narcissists, like the church gossiper, or the one class clown, whatever you want to say, class clown in your courses at university, who never shuts up and who always has attention. It's that one boss, that one boss at your job who basically takes credit for other people's work, who is just a micromanager, completely insecure, a tyrant. You've got the the rental cop, maybe, who the parking ticket cop who overly abuses their authority. You've got the baby narcissist throughout life. But I think the biggest examples of narcissists, and that give us a good to wrap up here and to sum this up, I think, very succinctly, the ones who give us a glimpse in narcissistic collapse are the big narcissist, because I feel like generally, and this is what's unfair about life, it's like that song, you can't always get what you want. And as you become an adult, you realize that life is just not always fair. And sometimes you just have to play this game of keeping yourself safe. Guys, keep yourself safe out there. Lots of narcissists. But in the grand scheme of things, and it might not be right, narcissists don't get accountability. We actually live in a society where narcissists thrive. People think that fast talking, abusive, big egotistical, tyrannical people are leaders. This is the messed up world that we live in. But the more that us who are victims of narcissistic abuse, who are survivors, who went past that, who elevated and rose above that, it's our duty to tell people that you're better than this. But to underline, to sum up the point, how narcissistic collapse is very rare. Injury and recovery by just seeking out your yes men and pumping yourself back up, and that eye just pointing at another narcissistic supply. Injury is temporary, it's fleeting, and they get over it and they get more supply most of the time. But collapse is rare, and the perfect example of that are dictators. Look at how many dictators, just a handful, that have been noteworthy throughout history. And they have had terrible, terrible demise. And a lot of the times it's been at their hands. They've done such horrible things that they either unalive themselves, or they're taken out by their own people, or they suffer, a natural demise, basically from unaliving themselves slowly with terrible food or terrible habits or drug abuse or whatever it might be. Another example of the narcissistic collapse is something like a big executive of a phone company. I'm thinking of a certain Mickey Mouse cartoon. But the big executive of a phone company who's been swindling people out of their money for years and years and years. It is the big executive of an airline company, the big executive of a gun manufacturing company, of big tobacco, who have been literally taking people's lives because of their corruption, and ruining people financially because of their corruption, and shutting people out of employment because of their corruption, and affecting the economy because of their corruption. These are the people, not your slimy used cars salesmen. We're talking about people who are affecting thousands and thousands of lives. You guys know them. You've heard about them over the years. They're rare. These billionaires, these millionaires are rare, but a lot of them, a lot of the times, will wreak havoc because their bottom line is the big old me, and my bottom line. And number one, I'm number one. And I got to take this 50 billion check. So I don't know, I can keep pumping lots of carbon dioxide into the air with my mansions and my cars and my factories and so who cares about the little guy who works 18 times as hard as me but takes 1/50th, 1/300th, 1/1000th of my paycheck home? Who cares? These big executives, that is what our society has defined as successful. That right there goes to show you that we have created a narcissistic society, and I hope we pull ourselves from it. But we can look towards our dictators, and we can look towards these big corrupt execs as narcissistic collapse. And I think a big example of this could be your Bernie Madoffs, for example. It could be your Adolf Hitlers. Not to say that these two narcissists are alike. Bernie Madoff and Adolf Hitler are not alike in any way. But it just goes to show you that it takes a lot to get to the place where these narcissists go to actually have to have systems and people and, departments of justice and FBIs and investigators and detectives and police work and victims who come out against them to take them down. It takes a lot for the narcissist to go to that place, and it takes a lot to bring them to their ultimate narcissistic collapse. So I think that narcissistic injury is very, very prevalent. It happens a lot, okay? It happens a whole lot. I think that narcissistic collapse is rare. I think that narcissistic collapse is really, really rare. And that's what's unfortunate about our society, is the ones who cause the most damage rise to power. And it takes people being brave, and people advocating for themselves and for others to bring them down, But most narcissists, they don't face the collapse. They just keep on toxicing, and they pass toxic down to other family members, children, community members, and the toxicity continues, and we live in a narcissistic world. So it's up to us to talk about this stuff, to change it. I want to know about your experience with narcissistic injury. What was it like when you injured your narcissist? Not physically, but, emotionally or mentally, where, they said they were the big bad wolf and they were awesome, and you said no, or they told you that you were nothing and you said no, where you made them feel stupid or little or less creative, less educated, less empathetic, whatever it was. I want to know about your experience with the narcissistic injury and how did it end? And I think if my judgment is right, less of you would have had experiences with narcissistic collapse. But if you also have had experience with narcissistic collapse, the ultimate downfall of the narcissist, whether it was prison, whether it was, 6 feet under, whether it was, in a nursing home slurping, soup through a straw. What was it, if you have experienced that? And tell us about it and share us your words of comfort, of wisdom. And guys, stay safe out there. Stay safe out there. Keep yourself safe. Keep yourself surrounded by energy that serves you. Whatever does not serve you in your life, push it away, push them away. And with that being said, I'm so glad that you joined me here today. Again, my name is Najwa. It's The Real Najwa. If you are new to this channel, I would love to have you join our growing community. You can hit the like and subscribe button. You can also donate to this channel through a super thanks. You can also donate through PayPal. That is in my description. I'm very, very glad that you're here. I hope that I've left you with something of wisdom, a nugget of truth, of universal truth, something that is helpful. And if you like more videos like this, if you have requests, please let me know. I would love to talk about it. Any subject concerning the narcissist or anything. We talk about it all on this channel. We talk about the narcissist, but we also talk about pop culture. We talk about politics. We talk about news. We talk about motivational things, because this is our little village, and we are coming together to make it, to pull through together in this very, very difficult world in these difficult times that we live in. So you got to keep a smile on your face. The narcissists hate that. Just smile your way on down the street, because they hate it. Okay, but guys, keep yourself safe out there. Stay vigilant. Crazy, crazy world where we live in. Keep yourself safe. Keep yourself emotionally, spiritually, energetically safe, physically safe. And with that being said, I will see you on the next one. Much love.